And welcome back, everybody. It's been yet another summer break, and it's therefore time to return to the SS Gabrielle as she steams out of the Panama Canal out into the Pacific, where we find at least four of our intrepid investigators. And since I'd just be sitting here chatting to myself if it wasn't for them, might as well go around and let them introduce themselves, catch up with who they are and what they're doing. So, in no particular order, let's start off with Valentina.
Hello, I'll be playing Valentina Rousseau, and we're going to see what kind of trouble I can get into on a boat. Should be very interesting.
Continuing on with Charles Stoddard.
uh, Cadre archaeologist. You in a room with someone else that likes old dusty things and looking for things to get where we're going.
Next up, let's go with Big Suze.
Yeah, I'm Big Suze. I'm more than happy to be on this boat and finally getting down south. Had a lovely ballroom dancing lesson last week and just looking forward to getting out there through those icebergs.
And finally, and by no means least, Dr. Wigglesworth.
Dr. Edward Wigglesworth. I'm here from Harvard representing the geology department.
And we are, let's see, remind myself very quickly of the date. Yes, it is the morning of the 21st of September, 1933. And the SS Gabrielle is plowing into the waves of the Pacific, leaving the coastline of Central America further and further behind her. As opposed to the Atlantic transverse over the last week or so, which was quite serene and pleasant, the Pacific is an entirely different animal in September, it seems. The sea is becoming rough and choppy beneath swirls of changing cloud, the wind gusting and changing quadrants pretty much every hour. Doesn't rain, but the threat still hangs overhead as though a storm might just suddenly rip up out of nowhere. But the good Captain Vredenberg takes it all in his stead. It's just another day on the bridge, and the Gabrielle plows onwards at a steady 11 knots. Every few seconds, the bow slams into a new wave, sending a distant thrum through the hull and tossing spray high into the air. It pretty quickly becomes clear that any outdoor activities that doesn't involve the necessity of getting covered in cold saltwater sea spray are fairly quickly curtailed over the morning hours. So various classes move inside. So this gives us an opportunity to try out the campaign mechanics for how well you handle the roughness of the seas. Now, there are some of the academics on board. Professor Abelmar, particularly, is spending an awful lot of time on the lee rail. So, given the situations, I'm going to ask that everybody make a let's call it a con roll and see how we do.
Extreme?
I
Yeah,
succeeded for once.
Yes, extreme.
yes,
We're apparently old sea dogs, and you didn't know it.
yep, certainly seems that way. Um,
I think it's just because we're making Big Sue's do all the outdoor work. It's harder out there in the sea spray. It's like, yeah, you can take it, right?
that's odd. So, for some reason, uh, Valentina's rolls aren't coming up in the chat window.
I noticed that. I'm gonna refresh my quest portal and see what happens.
Okay,
If it matters, I got a hard success with Stoddard. I don't think it will, but hey, I succeeded on something.
hard is certainly good enough. It's good enough that I don't have to try to work out what the conversion is for a con times 4 roll under the second edition rules. So there's that. Um, but basically, yes, uh, it seems like none of the party are particularly in need of joining Professor Alborough on the lee rail, which is probably just as well because it is rather wet over there. Um, Now, given that we'll assume that everybody has succeeded, I think I'd like to have you then make either a spot hidden or a track roll, your choice.
I'm still getting the spinny die down on the bottom, so I'm gonna grab some dice quick.
Yeah, no worries.
Stoddard succeeded on his spot hidden.
Well, make sure
Oh,
and note.
come on.
Oh,
No.
Oh. Sousa's too busy watching the splash.
yeah, that's okay.
Push it,
Uh,
Wigglesworth. You can do it.
I mean, maybe I should just spend a few luck. I'm kind of close.
I mean, you could
I
definitely do
wouldn't
that too.
worry about it too much on this.
All right.
Although,
If it has to do with rocks, I'm all in. That's all I need to know, GM. Anything to
no,
do with rocks.
we're well away from any kind of anything more than 400 feet below you sort of level.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
My con roll was an ot 7, so I'm good there.
yep,
And what was the other roll you needed?
a spot hidden or a track roll.
I got a 15 on spot hidden,
Oh, nice.
so that's
So
that should yeah hard success.
yeah, so that basically means that Charles and Valentina have both gained their sea legs and therefore won't be needing to make any further rolls. I will, however, need another con roll from Susan and Dr. Wigglesworth.
Which roll was that?
Constitution.
Got it.
Success.
Success as well.
Yeah, with at least minus, even at minus 20, those are still successes. So that should basically see everybody. Yeah, the group is basically seaworthy, as it were.
Fantastic.
And to that end, we should probably do a luck refresh just for keeping ourselves mechanically honest.
If we're doing a quick pause for that, what's the date again? Because I didn't
Oh,
have the
sure.
notes open.
It's September 21st.
Thank you. Notes doc updated, and he said so. Luck roll. If we fail the luck, roll a d10.
Yep.
So y'all know I'm not seeing the notes for whatever reason.
Are you in the? It's in the. I put it in a new section for
Oh,
Pacific Ocean.
no. It's my issue because I'm working with one screen. I had the page half sized, and when I have it half sized, it doesn't show me. It doesn't like scroll real well. It's fine. I can see them if I expand my screen.
If it's easier for you, if you have notes, if you want to throw them Discord, I'll paste them in, since that's easier to tab between.
Yeah. Yep.
I just rolled 100 to fail my luck.
No. Oh, that's really good. That means you failed successfully.
Yeah,
I'm. I mean, it's. I feel almost like you should roll 2d10 for a roll that poorly.
Oh man,
honestly, my
5.
lucks. I have a lot of luck banked right now, so I'm at 86, which is why
Well,
Oof.
I'm taking
lucky
my fail.
you.
I thought I was good with 75.
Well, it's
Yeah.
because I fail almost every roll I make. Every time we've had a luck increase, I think I've increased mine.
That's a good way to do it.
So, I mean, yeah. And when I fail rolls, it's by like 50, so I haven't been I haven't been spending the luck to succeed. Um, which, well, so there will be there'll be situations in which I would drop 50 luck to succeed, let's be honest.
Yes, and not of course forgetting that we are heading eventually towards territory where keeping 30 luck in the back in your knapsack is just prudent. So, child, let's get some 9. Okay. But so we have this essentially um, 3 further days of steaming through the weather until we get to the 24th, where the weather calms somewhat, the clouds raise themselves off the sea deck, and it starts becoming possible to be out on the deck of the Gabrielle and not get completely soaked immediately. Um, the almost infinite expanse of the Pacific, the dark violet of the Pacific Ocean, stretching horizon to horizon with not a sight of land anywhere. You do over the last few days, and particularly so, it's particularly noticeable on the 24th because you're actually out and about on the deck uh, rather than just hankering down in classes uh, or at the dinner table. Um, but you perhaps somewhat surprised to see that there's some of the members of crew are behaving in a perhaps rather peculiar manner. They're being they're clearly deliberately keeping out of your way, um, and every now and then you catch somebody almost skulking around corners carrying boxes or wrapped up parcels almost. Um, if it wasn't for the fact that, given your activities in New York Harbor, you're intimately familiar with just about every single item that is on this ship that has been brought on by somebody. Um, you're wondering what it could be that um, is going on, and you perhaps ask the ship's mate at dinner, what's up with the crew? Why are they being surly? And they just say, oh, they're just the crew. Pay it no heed, pay it no mind. And then on the evening of the 24th, about probably an hour or so after the sun has set in a glowing cascade of color over the western horizon, the ship's engines go suddenly quiet, followed a moment later by three blasts of the ship's horn. Um, Not surprisingly, there is quite a crowd of people rushing to the main deck to find out what's going on. And as you come out of the main forecastle, you find that the ship's external spotlights are all trained on the ship's bow, where, brilliantly lit in the glare of the lamps, a figure appears in a swirl of water and begins striding towards the bridge.
I don't like
It's
this.
it's a man elaborately costumed in a fanciful frog coat, lots and lots of ribbons and gold and silver leaf, his long green wig pulled back in an ancient-looking tarred braid. Go ahead and make spot hidden rolls.
Okay.
And not a sanity roll for someone just appearing on the deck?
Nope, nope.
Somebody slip us a Mickey, or what's going on here?
I don't know, but it sounds like you just described old Greg.
I got an ot 6, so that's an extreme.
Okay.
You know what? I think I'm going to spend a little bit of luck because I only missed it by 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so it's not surprising that Miss Russo um, identifies the person underneath the wig and the fancy costume. Perhaps more so that Charles happens to remember him from some of the classes he's been taking. This is the engineer's mate, Pakari, although he's looking quite different from his usual dour self. And you see that he turns, as I quickly lose my spot. One second. There we go. So yes, this extremely overdressed figure of a man turns to one of these sailors on the foredeck and shouts out, "Ho, Shellback! Permission to come aboard in His Majesty's name." To which the sailor then responds, "Why, 'tis Davy Jones himself. Welcome aboard, sir." "Thank you.
Are we
Where
going
may
to
I
be playing?
where may I find your captain?" "Yonder, sir," pointing to the bridge. "He awaits your pleasure." At which point, Davy Jones, for 'tis he, proceeds in a very forceful and forthright manner. Uh, you see that he's clutching a battered leathered folio to his chest. He's looking just straight ahead as he heads for the bridge, bellowing, "You there! Make way for the king's messenger!" And eventually makes his way up to the bridge where uh, Captain Vredenberg is standing, pipe in hand, um, and as Davy Jones barges in through the back of or through the way in onto the bridge from the back, says, "Greetings, Davy Jones. My congratulations to you, Captain. Some years since I saw you." "Yes, it was aboard the SS Salandia. I have a summons to you from His Majesty Neptunus Rex." "I will be glad to receive it." And Davy goes into his folio and pulls out a sheaf of documents. "SS Gabriel. On entering the domain of His Majesty Neptunus Rex, take notice. It having come to our attention that various landlubbers are present on your vessel, all undoubtedly guilty of heinous offences against our laws, I therefore command that you prepare to receive our royal party, that our court may sit in judgment. The following lubbers will present themselves at noon tomorrow." Valentino Russo, Charles Stoddard, Roger Tremblay, and Dr. Wigglesworth. A terrible fate awaits any who may seek to evade His Majesty's judgment. And he hands the pieces of paper to Captain Ridderberg. Well, please assure His Majesty these persons will attend this court. Thank you, sir. His Majesty would be pleased if your vessel would be hove to on the line at 11:30 tomorrow, sir, to receive him aboard. Certainly, David Jones. I will await your pleasure tomorrow, sir. I will see you when I return with my Royal Master Neptunus Rex. Good night, sir. The captain and Davy bow to each other, and Davy turns on his heel and walks out to the ship's bow, where he disappears. Probably what's happening is he's just ducking down behind the main bollards up there, but base disappears from view.
While he was talking to the captain, could I have snapped a picture of them together?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead and make a art photography roll, just to see how things turn out.
Really quick clarification. If did he specifically only name several of the PCs, or do we assume that the other various land-loving characters were also named?
There is a list of land-loving characters. Susan has crossed the line before, I believe.
I was
So
also actually
would Stoddard
Stoddard might have, because remember he does archaeological digs
Yeah.
across the world. But I was like, I noticed that leader, our fearless leader wasn't mentioned, but also
Mhm.
we all have secondary characters. Then I realized
Yeah.
Starkweather may probably has crossed the line, but Stoddard might have before.
Yeah, I'm happy. I mean, I'll happily accept that thought. If you're up to you.
So Valentina failed the photography roll, so we'll see how that picture turns out later.
Okay.
And I definitely don't object to Stoddard going through whatever this is. There's definitely that level of, well,
Oh no.
I'm an archaeologist, not a sociologist, but it also, once I realized the qualifications of being, and it's crossing the line at sea, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
equator at sea, I assume.
Is it the equator at sea, or is it an oceanic line? Okay, yeah, he would have done that before because of archaeology.
Okay.
However, my oh shoot, both of my characters probably have, because my other guy's a military dude.
I will
Uh,
say, if it's the equator, Suze hasn't.
Oh,
Everything she's done has been in the north.
okay.
This,
Well,
this,
we'll let's for the sake of argument, then we'll just substitute in um
Susan
Sue's
Sinclair
Susan Sinclair
for
for
Richard Stoddard.
yep, or for Charles Stoddard. Yep.
Yeah, excuse me.
Fair enough. And honestly, like, this is hilarious. I'm loving it. I was, then I realized the condition. I was like, wait, this is a guy who's done this. Okay. This is-
Yeah, just goes to show that my prep was a little bit off as well, so no worries. But so this means that I get to
Does this, however, mean Stoddard has seen this before?
yes.
Okay, so there's that, like,
What?
there's first that moment of what's going on. Oh, this.
I'm
Um, and
I'm
you know,
I'm definitely mumbling to Stoddard. What is going on? What is
I don't
this?
even think he goes as this. He's just kind of like he's got he's amused. He's got that kind of like, the old guy on the porch amusement of like, oh, um, once he realized what's going on, it is entertaining. Let's be honest. Like once he was greeted, it very much looked like it's like, oh, are we? It was like very stage play, and it's like, okay, we've got some ritual here. I don't think Stoddard's going to ruin the fun. Which means one, you don't have to tell me what it is, and I can be surprised in game. And two, I feel like it's fitting to not spoil the fun.
No sanity rolls, right?
No sanity rolls needed, at least so far.
Yet.
Also, everyone, if it's horrible, I apologize.
So if you go and look in your campaign notes, there are a set of summons.
I'm gonna,
With,
Suze, I'll paste yours into chat so you can see it.
Oh, I popped it up. It's still like tiny, but I got it. Open
yeah,
image.
so
There we go.
it reads SS Gabrielle. On entering domain of Neptune's Rex, notice and listen, ye landlubber. Insert name of landlubber here. I order and command you to appear before me and my court on the morrow to be initiated on the mysteries of my empire. If not, you shall be given as food for sharks, whales, polywogs, frogs, and all living things of the sea, who will devour you head, body, and soul as a warning to landlubbers entering my domain without warrant. You are charged with the following offences. List of offences. Therefore appear and obey or suffer the penalty. Registered Davy Jones, Secretary to His Majesty. And we might as well just go around and hear what the offences are.
Well, for Valentina, it is entering the domain whilst indecently unclad beneath the knee. So there's that.
Scandalous.
Mm-hmm.
For Big Sue's, I disposed of unholy soil in Neptune's waters.
Probably referring to the
Night
dogs.
soil.
Yes.
Okay, and where are these charges?
So you're gonna have your own specific summon, and at the bottom of the summon, it'll say.
Okay. Got it. Charges. Polluting my clean domain with the remains of your pipe tobacco.
And Tremblay is charged with wasting frozen water by throwing it at his harbor stewards. So things come back and quieten down. There's a little bit of hubbub amongst the younger PhD students, assistants to the other academics, but they fairly shortly realize that I can't be. This won't be any worse than any regular university prank night. So it'll probably be fine. And indeed, the morning of the 25th dawns bright and clear and calm seas. Just a slight breeze of about 5 knots from the northwest. A lot of there is a noticeable lack of the usual attentive service at breakfast. mainly because a lot of the sea hands are busy outside erecting the king's court on the afterdeck beside the spare rudder and the loading craft. Um, and indeed, by 11:30, the navigator walks onto the bridge, salutes Captain Vredenberg, and says, "Sir, we're on the line." And Vredenberg turns around and pulls the um, command handles for the engines up to central for all stop heave to, and the engines thrum goes silent. The tannoy then breaks into life as the passenger and crew are commanded to assemble, and let's see. So yes, you're asked to assemble on the aft deck. Uh, and once everybody is more or less in position, um, there is a procession of about a half dozen characters, is probably the best way of describing it. There's led by Davy Jones in his gold frocked, silver frocked coat. There is Neptunus Rex himself, with carrying his staff of office, of course, an implausibly large trident. Not quite sure how that got smuggled on board, but it looks like something that could quite happily take out a whale if need be. There is also resplendent in straw-colored hair. Well, it is straw-colored because it's a wig made out of straw rope. His mistress of the sea, um, and a group of three officiants, I guess is the best way of putting it. Um, you also notice that some of the members of the crew have slunk away from the crowd and are holed up uh, over by the aft deck buildings. Neptune ponderously walks over to the hastily erected, to the hastily erected throne, sits down, lifts up his big crown and rests it on his knees, and says, "Captain, even though you appear to be carrying a number of landlubbers, I have to say I am not most displeased with the state of your vessel. Very kind of your Majesty to say. Um, the vessel is yours for as long as you may determine that you need it." And the captain takes a few steps back, and one of the three court pages steps forward and takes out a long scroll and goes, "Hear ye, hear ye! Behold the majesty of great Neptunus Rex, ruler of the seas and all that swim in them. Take note and listen to these his following announcements. Seaman Sweeney, in recognition of your services and excellent note tying, we are pleased to present you with the Order of the Cup. And one of the other members of the retinue steps forward and holds a wooden platter upon which sits a pewter tankard, which the seaman is duly presented with. It has a rope tied through the handle that is hung over his neck as part of the presentation. And there is a number of similar rewards and awards that are handed out to various members of the crew. It's noticeable that once the rewards are handed out, the chef has brought out one of the cases of beer from his stores and is busy serving up other rewards to the lucky recipients. And then Neptune, Davy Jones takes on a more serious face and says, "Your Majesty, there is also the matter of the landlubbers." "Oh, yes," says Neptunus Rex. "Well, bring them forth and they shall be judged." And so the group of you that are marked as landlubbers are brought forwards, not in chains or bound up or anything, but there's certainly an amount of good-natured prodding and pushing to bring you before His Austere Majesty. As Neptunus says, "So, landlubbers, having been caught in flagrante upon my waters, how do you plead?"
Guilty, my liege. We have.
"Very well. In recognition of your contrition and honesty, I have no recourse but to be as brutal as I may. You will each undergo the tunnel rite, at which time you will be presented with your proper credentials." At this point, there is quite a bit of glee amongst the rest of the crew, particularly that group that had gone back a bit ways behind the aft deck building, as they bring out what is essentially a large tunnel made out of tarpaulin that they erect. So it's about 4 foot high, which you are then pushed into, and they proceed to um, bash you along it, as it were. Not particularly hard, but still they're using wooden paddles and oars and so forth to drive you through. Now, admittedly, the drive through is not the most pleasant because they have lined the inside of the tarpaulin with hanging seaweed and things of that ilk. But at least it's but a short-lived uh, event, and at the end,
Do I have any issue with being size 90?
no, no, they've made allowances. And if you go back, I've left Susan's certificate off. I'll make that up separately, but Wigglesworth and Stoddard at least have their certificates of. Oh, sorry, Wigglesworth and Valentina have their certificates of um, passage in the notes, which proclaims that His Oceanic Majesty, Neptunus Rex, Lord of the Seven Seas, be it hereby known that he whose name doth appear below has manifestly demonstrated the proper scorn for those who do not sail his waters, or sail only the shores of their homelands. And further, in latitude 000, longitude 0921 degrees 33 seconds west, he has been purged of his lubberly ways. Therefore, to all mermaids, sea serpents, whales, sharks, porpoise, dolphins, skates, eels, suckers, lobsters, crabs, pollywogs, and other livings of the sea, name, has been found worthy to be numbered as one of our trusty shellbacks, has been gathered into our fold and duly initiated into the solemn mysteries of the ancient order of the deep. He is entitled to be termed a son of Neptune, and further entitled to travel our seas without let or hindrance to the very ends of the earth. In witness hereby, on this day, September 25th, 1933, I set my royal seal. Neptunus Rex, King of the Oceans, Lord of the Seven Seas, etc., etc. Davy Jones, Secretary of Navy, and also countersigned by Vredenberg, Captain of the SS Gabrielle. And these events curtail with the royal party gathering themselves up and heading back to the bow of the ship, where they disappear down the opening to number one hold, sure to return to their own domain. However, or at least so you think, it's but a few minutes. So you're just gathering yourselves up and thinking, okay, I need to have a bath and prepare for dinner. They all come back out of number one hold in half out of their fanciful dress, um, and run down and track down the first mate, who goes back down with them, and very shortly thereafter, comes up and clearly has an oddly green tinge to his face, which, it's a calm day, and if anybody has sea legs, it's the first mate. As he walks up, to the captain, they start having a word. The captain turns around and heads back to Starkweather and Moore. And at this point, go ahead and make listen rolls.
That's a normal success for Valentina.
Okay. So Valentina, keeping her ear to the ground, as it were, starts hearing the whisper run through the crew of the refrigerator's gone down. It's all spoiled.
Oh no.
And it's um but few minutes after that the captain comes up and says, "Now hear this. There has been an incident in the galley. The ammonia from the refrigerator has escaped. We need to rescue what we can. This is an all man on deck job." And I'm going to assume that um, everybody is going to help out the best they can in terms of bringing out foodstuffs and um, generally saving what may be saved.
Absolutely.
Probably if there's an ammonia leak, just because it's probably putting like a bandana across my face. But yeah, definitely, it's like taking the
Oh,
all hands on deck on that seriously. Like, oh no.
yeah, and to that point, even above deck, you're now starting to get that whiff of ammonia, and down in the hold, it is overwhelming. Um, you're you're basically able to be down there a few minutes with cloth coverings and so forth over your nose, but it's just absolutely overpowering. What appears to have happened is the So yes, at least one, if not more, of the copper pipes of the refrigeration system has burst, and it's basically been spewing ammonia under pressure into the hold. Um, it takes several hours because you have to just run in, grab whatever you can, run out before you're overcome by the fumes. They send in crews to scrub down the walls and the floor in brief shifts to try to lessen the smell. Um,
Can
Unfortunately, out of the 12 tons or so of food that was in the refrigerated hold, uh, almost a fourth is tainted by ammonia, and there is now nowhere cold to store it.
um two quick questions. Can something be like is there any like mechanical repair that can be attempted to try to least stop the leak from happening?
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
And uh I mean, depending on how discussions go, but do we have any way that we can basically carry the more perishable submerged in the water along the ship, which is a technique for keeping things cold? I don't know.
Even at the equator,
Even at the equator, it's still cooler than than air
air.
is.
Yeah, so like the surface foot of the water gets cold, gets warm, but like under that it gets very cold. That being said, with the scale of the boat, it also and the scale of food, like we might not be able to just put something in a sack in its packages. It's not like it's in plastic,
Right.
so it might not be workable. But
I would say that you, you raised the idea to the captain, and
can Suze
you
actually
think
be the one
you
to raise that? Because
you
I think it would
can
make.
yeah
Can I
you
not?
can
I can I suggest that Suze actually be the one that bring it up to the captain if she would be of interest, because I think it's very tied to Suze's expertise particular.
Yeah.
makes sense.
Um.
Um, Go ahead and make a social roll of some kind.
Oh, that's not nice. Fair enough. Um. Let me see what I got. Let's try charm.
I was not thinking of a social aspect, though. Stoddard's also not great at that. I was just it seemed like something that would make a lot of sense for Suze to pitch.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can I
Uh,
assist?
sure, sure. Yeah, I'll throw in a bonus die for it.
Okay. Well,
I just noticed the roll, so I don't know if it's gonna make a difference.
Well, it could do. I mean,
it's
if
okay.
there's a 20% chance that on a bonus die you'll make it.
So if you're assisting, so it'll be whatever 5. Well, we are now at 30 or 32.
Yeah,
Can I let me go ahead and I guess burn those 12 points of luck?
I rolled
sure.
a 9 on persuade. I don't think that counts for roll successes, but
But I don't know, it's I can see I see how this works out. So Zeus Susan goes up to the captain and says, "Yeah, we even if it's not ice, the water is still cold. We can definitely save some of this stuff." Um, but it's when Dr. Stoddard steps up and goes, "Well, for example, we could take some of the crated fruit and tie a hawser around a pack of those and trawl them behind us and recover as needed. Obviously, I, you sort of think that that's probably the likely goods that wouldn't get damaged by being trawled through salt water at some speed. Um, it's sturdy enough without being sure. It'll be a bit salty, but it's at
Yeah,
least
we
something.
probably have some frozen stuff we could do that with, but yeah. Unfortunately, unfortunately, the patriarchy works in Stoddard's favor in this case, I guess.
I guess. But I'll be a little bit better at it next time.
And
We'll all be a bit saltier next time.
So was a mechanical repair roll not possible then,
oh,
Stefan, or is it just too late?
mechanical. I'm happy for somebody to make a mechanical repair roll.
Can I give that a shot?
Oh, absolutely.
I've only got a 20%, so go ahead.
Oh god. Well, it sounds like the sense is starting to overpower me, but I'm really focused on it, so I'm going to power through that horrible ammonia scent and try to push the roll.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The worst thing that's going to happen here is that you overpush it and somebody has to drag you out.
And
That's not a problem.
There we
Yeah,
go.
you
Hard success.
yeah. So here's the thing. This
so
isn't. You manage to shut down the system. Unfortunately, it's been leaking for possibly a few hours. So it's by the time you get to it, it's pretty much run out of uh, ammonia. So it's about as bad as it's going to get. But
But
also, it more to the point is that you notice quite clearly that this is not a regular line rupture. It's not a blowout. The leak is in the middle portion of a pipe. It's not at any of the joints. And it looks as though it's a string of holes in the pipe. Go ahead and make a spot hidden. In fact, everybody can go ahead and make a spot hidden.
Ignore my roll. I hit the wrong.
I'm in spot hidden's my only good skill, apparently. So I got a 5.
Okay, so Valentina. Maybe it's the photographer in you that causes you to step back a bit and just take in the whole scene rather than just concentrating on the leaks themselves. And you notice that there's some pitting in the steel deck underneath the pipe, round about where the leak occurred.
Okay. I would point that out to the others that are there. I don't really have any science-y thing to try to figure out what that is.
I mean, having mechanical repair, I might understand it. or just making it like a straight int roll or something like that.
Yeah, I'd certainly say probably for any one of the random characters, we're probably looking at say a hard int roll, um, unless somebody has say science chemistry.
Sure. Well, I didn't tease it out.
I'm gonna try the hard intro and see what happens here. And that's a no.
So, um, it's with somewhat of a heavy heart that you find yourself throwing a lot of food just plain overboard. I mean, anything that was unsealed or exposed to the air is just poisoned, basically. Even the several crates of chicken eggs are so heavily impregnated with ammonia that they're just inedible.
Should have glassed him.
Fortunately, there is the pemmican.
Probably a couple jars of pickles, but yeah, the pemmican.
But yes, you do manage to rescue at least some crates of fruit and so forth that you reckon you come up with a jury rigged set. You basically jury rig one of the big fishing nets to be trawled behind, off to the side and behind the boat, with crates of the more harder perishable items. So yeah, apples, oranges. Yeah, there's probably more of the fruit. Unfortunately, the meat is either you manage to get meat out, but it's going to have to be consumed in short order here.
So I assume that the refrigeration system is a lost cause. We don't have any more ammonia, obviously.
Correct.
And I mean, other gases can be used as a refrigeration, but we probably don't have what we need to charge the system.
Correct, and also just the remain of the sheer stench of the ammonia
Mm,
in the room itself is also an issue.
gotcha.
What
Uh,
year are we again?
33.
Okay, never mind.
Um,
It's okay. I was thinking of apparently air compressors just were invented, so I didn't know if we had one of those could charge it with just air and see what we got. But if it's the ammonia is the problem at this point, so
yeah, even if you could bring the temperature of the room down, um, it's still not uh, a pleasant environment for foodstuffs.
I assume we're just cooking a bunch of food at this
Uh,
point and trying to
yeah,
make it into like soups and stuff like that that'll last a little bit.
hmm absolutely.
Could
Um,
we could we dry some of the meat or somehow? Like, sorry, well, I guess we'll preserve what we can at this point. Let the chefs take care of that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, every effort is made to salvage as much as possible, um, and a decent amount is saved and salvaged. Um, but certainly over the next few days, there is a glut of available food at every meal. um, but gradually over the days, um, will probably just slowly turn into more and more ways of cooking with pemmican. And to that end, later on the 25th, at the evening, um, you happen to be around when Captain Vredenberg meets up with James Starkweather on the boat deck as the sun sets. Um, you can hear their argument everywhere, and of course, the disappointed and hungry laborers really hear this. As the captain goes, "We must turn back, sir." "No, captain," argues Starkweather, "we must not." Mr. Starkweather, we are 4 days out from Panama City. Australia is a good 2 weeks away. We cannot repair the machinery in the middle of the ocean. We do not have the materials to do so. Your supplies will spoil, sir. They will rot and be worthless to you before we can possibly arrive. We shall not turn back, Captain. We have lost too much time already. She is several days ahead of us, and we shall not lose another day. We shall buy more supplies if need be. Now press on. Starkweather turns and storms away towards the bridge. Captain Vredenberg's standing at the side of the hold, takes a deep breath, and you can clearly hear the sailor strength epithet that's uttered before he too wanders off towards the bridge. Since you're standing a little ways away, but more sort of down by some of the laborers, you can hear the reaction of the crew. "He's crazy." "He's gone off his nut. He's bloody starkers." Oh. And as ever, Starkweather gets his way, and the Gabrielle steams off westwards towards Australia. Um, the group heads into the ship's mess for a rather late dinner, where the table is remarkably quiet. Um, it's basically serve yourself because all the stewards are busy dealing with the mass food. And you come to, on the morning of the 26th, steaming along somewhere in the southern hemisphere, when I would ask everybody to make a psychology roll.
It's a 22, a hard success for Valentina.
So, Valentina, oh, yeah, Valentina happens to um, spot the fact that the doctor isn't at breakfast. Now, breakfast is normally a quite long winded affair in the officer's mess on the Gabrielle. So it's not immediately unusual, but
It-
it's that you do spot him heading into his cabin, which is just off the officer's mess. It's one of the rooms adjoining.
Is this? Are you talking about our doctor, or
No,
a different
the,
doctor?
the ship's doctor.
Okay. I'd probably snoop a little bit, see if I can figure out what he's up to.
Absolutely. Go ahead and make a stealth check.
Still 60. Oh my. I failed, but I will push that roll.
Okay.
Um, maybe I don't know. I go to step a more roundabout way to come in from the other side, and so hopefully I'll be out of sight.
Okay. Yep.
That is a hard success.
Okay. So fortunately, there is a conspicuous lack of random crew members just walking along the space where you're um, crouched down, looking in around the corner of the door to the doc's cabin, and you see the doctor clearly flustered, and he's doing some sort of tests. He's got the rack of test tubes out, and he's putting drops of various liquids in and getting things fizzing and so forth. And as he does so, you see his face just go pale. And he sits back in his chair and just looks at the rack of test tubes that's on his desk.
I would. I'm going to walk, kind of just straighten up, and like I'm walking into the room behind him, kind
Okay.
of grabbing my stomach a little bit and saying, "Boy, doctor, you look about as ill as I feel. Are you okay? Are you got the seasickness too?"
Oh, sorry, buddy. You gave me quite the start. No, no, no. It's not me. It's poor Seaman Jones. Uh, and quite possibly, he says, looking just straight at the test tubes, all of us.
All of us what?
Well, go ahead and make a social role, a persuade or a charm, I suspect.
Yeah, I can't pull a fast talk on this one. 1 second.
Oh, you might actually. I would take a fast talk if you wanted.
Okay. I mean, that's my good one. So, yeah, we'll see what we got here. Of course. I don't feel like I should push this one, so I'm going to spend 13 points of luck to make that a success.
Okay.
If that
Um,
gets me there.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, your reporter instincts kick into gear, and mixed with the doctor's tendency to want to explain what is going on, and in that sort of bedside manner of, yeah, by explaining what ails you, making you feel more comfortable. At least that's what he believes. Of course, it really just comes off as a mansplaining 1930s archetype, but potato potato. And it seems as though there there was an incident in one of the um, seaman quarters at breakfast or after breakfast, where Seaman Jones, second class, apparently got cyanide poisoning.
Well, how would he get that?
That is a very, very good question, but it appears that um, it appears that a powder was put into his mug of coffee. I have found the residue, and that's what I was testing.
D- Just so someone's got it out for him, or what do you mean by all of us could have it? You think someone's poisoning all of us?
I have I have no idea. I just it seems impossible, but oh, sorry, not cyanide, strychnine.
Well, that changed things. I was getting worried because I was like, 100 milligrams of cyanide is deadly.
Hmm.
We might be screwed. Strychnine is a little different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what do we do, Doctor? Do we alert the crew?
I obviously I need to tell the captain. Um, but I don't. The crew's already on edge. What with bloody Starkers. If the captain puts in place orders a general search, which I suspect he would, That might just be the tinder that lights the box, as it were.
A general search for the strychnine, I was assuming what I would be looking for.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
Well, he might just have to order a more certificate or a more quiet search of the ship.
If I just don't see how he can. But then again, I'm just the doctor. I'm not. This is so above my pay grade.
Well, I've never been on a ship before, so I don't really know how things work here. So I guess I'm going to have to trust that the captain will know what he's doing. And even as Valentina says that, she knows that that's probably not going to work out. Because Starkweather's not going to be helping the situation.
Well, it's going to take me an hour or so to confirm my results. I want to be very sure of my facts before I go to the captain. Now, uh, I'm sure your gastrointestinal upset is merely just an overindulgence on given the variation of diet we're all suffering. Um, and he wanders over to a shelf and takes out uh, a bottle with a white powder inside it, and takes a small spoon and meshes out um, a small amount onto a piece of paper that he folds expertly into an envelope and hands you a spoonful of that with your breaking of fast should see you right.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Um, just to be on the correct side. Yeah, yeah. No accidental mixing of the strychnine powder with.
Well, he got that out of the cabinet. I don't see a bottle of strychnine in there, do I?
No.
Okay. Well, as I head back out to the mess hall there, if everyone's still sitting down for the meal, I will sit down with them again and just very quietly say, "Well, do you all of you think you could meet me in my room in like 5 minutes? Because we have to talk about some stuff."
Certainly, Miss Valentina.
I grab my spiked coffee and my plate and start walking towards your room.
I I kind of put my hand out and kind of to your coffee cup and just kind of put it back down on the table and just kind of pat your hand a little bit. Just leave that here.
I mean, being me, I would slam the coffee and then set it back down.
Oh, fantastic. Valentina grimaces a little bit like, oh. But when we would all meet back at my room, I would very calmly explain everything the doctor had said, and probably ask if anybody had seen anything suspicious or anybody acting weird. I mean, I thought that the Neptune stuff was a little strange, but
A bit.
Actually, a question off of that: did the crew behavior change after the Neptune thing? Like, I don't know if we have to roll for that, but I mean, obviously, things we had the ceremony, and then things got bad because of the fridge. But different factors. Are they still being as cagey towards us?
Now, no, they're now being outright borderline rude and non-cooperative. Because it seems that you're basically being tarred with the Starkweather brush for being part of the expedition, for better or for worse.
I
We're
can't really
goddamn
blame them.
management.
I honestly, I was curious if the ritual had made a difference. But
It probably did for all of about the 7 minutes before somebody walked into the ammonia room.
oh, for sure. Like, I'm not gonna blame anyone being like them. It's like, yeah, it's annoying, but also, yeah, this guy. He is clearly not competent management. Like, we could get there without him.
the doctor did express a lot of concern about if they do a general search, that it's not going to end well. And I don't know what we can do about it, especially in the hour or less that we have now before they would order that. I mean, I can get into places, but I can't search a whole ship by myself.
I do find it interesting that for of all the displeasure on the ship, that it's hitting within the crew rather than, shall we say, the more visible targets of ire.
Yeah. What did the crewman that has strychnine poisoning, Stefan, what did he do? Like, what was his job?
He was a general ship hand.
Okay.
So,
I didn't know if he was navigator, mechanic, like if it was something that had to
no,
do
no,
with keeping the ship going.
just scraping the barnacles off the side, kind of.
Okay.
I don't know what's gonna happen, but we probably want to watch our own drinks and
Yeah.
vessels just in case.
It wouldn't be the first time I've had strychnine. Not tasty.
I sh- I should have asked the doctor if there was a way to tell if there was something, if strychnine was in a drink, but if it had a smell or if it. I didn't think about that. Did the doctor say that he knew where he had gotten or where he had gotten poison that wasn't his coffee, or did he just make that as a general, like somebody poisoned him kind of a statement?
Uh, it's you got the sense that or no, the doctor had basically remained non-committal as to what had happened to him, and you got the sense that he wanted to run the tests before making any sort of.
Okay.
And so it's whilst you're sitting in Valentina's room that um, the ship's mate Peter pokes his head in and says, "Oh, good, you're all together. That makes life easier. There's a officers' meeting in 5 minutes." And the the main 60 or so officers and academic staff, expedition members, gathered, crammed into the officers' mess, where Dr. Green um, takes the stage and says, "Gentlemen, I have some troubling news. Um, some hours ago, one of our ship's members um, was poisoned. At first, I thought it was due to his coffee, but I later, I went back, and on closer examination, I found that um, Seaman Jones had liberated a sample of pemmican from one of the unopened crates. I went back and had a look in the crate, and found that that one crate had sizable portions of powdered strychnine around the wrapped packages. Now, not mixed into them, so this wasn't something that happened in manufacturing. Now,
Stoddard is gonna be like, "Are you like anyone near him can hear him go? Are you fucking kidding me?"
obviously, the presence of strychnine powder in our most important supplies means that someone, somewhere, wishes us all to die. I can't ignore the fact that if the deed was not performed in New York, then we have a would-be murderer aboard this vessel, one who could strike at any moment. And with that, Green steps down and Moore comes up and says, "Well, clearly today has continued the unfortunate events of yesterday, but at least they put them in a fresh light. We're going to have to go through all the supplies clearly and make sure that they're safe. To that end, I am asking," and looks over at the captain, "for as many of the crew as can be spared in that duty. However, I would also ask some of my friends and colleagues um, if they would mind expanding their viewpoint a little. And much as we did back in New York, take a look around the rest of our equipment just in case. I know this is looking for trouble, but the pessimist in me would rather know what we face before we get to Melbourne, where we can have radioed ahead and correct any problems we find rather than finding it on the ice.
Is Starkweather okay? This is out of character, but this is literally asking for clarification. Is Starkweather actually saying something that makes sense?
No, no, no. This is more.
Oh, oh, the other half, the one we haven't dealt with as much. Okay.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
one who might be competent, yes.
Yes, because I was like, this sounds too competent to be Starkweather. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Yeah, Stoddard is nodding along with the yeah, I'm totally checking my gear and the things I know about. Because yeah.
So I guess, for the next 10 day or so that it's going to take at 11 knots to reach Melbourne. Uh, you there is sadly going to be a curtailment of the courses, uh, just because everybody is going to be busy either going through the food supplies or going through the stowed gear in the holds.
So, could Valentina over that time, under the guise of doing like interviews for the paper and stuff like that, just kind of start interviewing members of the crew and stuff like that to try to figure out any that she can pick up on that would be overly against this expedition? Or just, questioning them for general things about the general
And against
clues.
the expedition, not, against it because of what's going wrong.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
They might want to
Um,
kill somebody over it.
yeah, no crew member will go even on unofficial record as outright saying yes, we want to throw Starkweather off the aft end of the ship. Uh, but the sentiment is there. Um, Bloody Starkers. Go ahead and make a fast talk roll.
That is exactly a hard success.
Okay. Um, Let's see. Okay. Well, with a hard success, you do find you're speaking with Abram, the ship's cook, and you do get the sense it's not said outright, but um, Henning or Abram bunks with two other men, um, Coates and Henning. Both are pursers on the crew, so they'd be serving food at meal times, etc. And he mentions that he happened to see a note in his cabin that basically was tearing Starkweather a new one. What particularly caught his eye was the fact that whilst it was mostly just bombastic ranting, the phrase that stuck in his mind was, "I shall not let the memory of my brother die like you let him." Don't know why it stuck in my mind, says the cook, but it just felt an odd turn of phrase.
I thank him and kind of continue the interview as normal
Mm-hmm.
to not seem too eager for the information.
Yep. You also end up with a couple of interesting recipes involving new and exciting ways of preparing ptarmigan.
Those might come in handy, so she'll definitely write those down. The way things are going. Um, After that, I would probably make sure to interview those. Make sure those two are in the interviews as well. Um,
Okay. Go ahead and make a psychology roll.
which is 60, I think. 70. That is a 24, so a hard success.
Hard success. Okay. Um, you do get the sense that Henning is being cautious or hiding something. But he's very much a people person, being one of the pursers, so he does a good job of it. But Valentina is Valentina, so
So I would probably, during the course of the interview, start make some offhand comment of this being my first expedition, and you know, I didn't think that expedition leaders would be like Starkweather and kind of stuff like that, to see if I can provoke him or get some kind of response out of him. It was very, very surprising that Starkweather would act this way and act against the better interests of the ship, it seemed to me.
well, it does go to show that if you have enough money, that will excuse a lot of things. And you do take note of the fact that there is a momentary pause before he responds, as though he's just taking that second to compose himself and give a recent response rather than you basically catch him saving himself from reacting, as it were.
Okay. Continued the interview, and probably that evening have a private conversation with the fellow members of the group, and kind of what I've found as the through all these interviews and such. I don't know if they're doing anything during this time as well.
Well, I'm going to assume that unless they're doing anything else, that they're probably going through the expedition gear, much like they were back in New York, uh, looking for anything amiss. Is that a fair assessment?
Stoddard is very concerned about the gear that the actual like once we're on the ice gear, like both making sure his own that he specifically went out of the way to bring is all set, but also the stuff that we're all supposed to rely on. Like he's like, I'm worried about the ice stuff.
I'd probably be focused on the dog food and things like that because I know that no one cares about my dogs other than me, really, when it comes down to it.
Absolutely.
Is the other dog the sledder or musher on a different ship? Because there's more than one, isn't there?
Yeah,
Yeah, we have. I forget his name now, but yes, we have the Polak,
Okay,
Gregor.
so are there
Gregory.
two on our ship then? Just out of curiosity, 'cause I'm trying to
Yeah,
figure
Yeah,
out.
there's like a half dozen mushers altogether. Um, but as a PC, there's only I'm the only one that's going to specifically be focusing on the dogs. So
And you're the one who's going to take best care of your dogs too.
absolutely.
So yes, the good news is that you basically managed to convince yourself that the pemmican that's put aside for the dog's food is safe, and nobody seems to have done anything particularly atrocious, other than just keeping crated dogs in a dimly lit ship's hold for weeks on end.
Sure.
Um, let's see.
So I would also wonder if what the other group's thoughts were. Should I turn this guy in to the like just to be questioned by somebody other than myself?
You didn't actually you questioned the chef who saw someone else's letter, right?
No, and then I questioned both of the people from the cabin that he shared with, and it sounded like Henning was the one that he's got something. He's got an axe to grind with Starkweather, as the impression that I got. He didn't give up anything. It was just more of a feeling that I got that, and he had. Yes, the chef saw the letter, but it seemed like Henning would have been the one of the two that wrote that letter. Unless I go and search a cabin when we get to dinner time here and see if I can find some strychnine in the cabin. But
We don't. No, we wouldn't have any records. I was just. This would be a great time to have access to records of the earlier. Um, can I do like a I don't know intelligence or some sort of check to see if I actually like if the name Henning rings a bell? Since we did spend time reading about the previous expeditions, I don't expect us to go this anywhere, but it's the
Um,
trying to think if I can think of the brother connection.
Go ahead. I would actually say go ahead and give me an education roll. I think it's more likely, just because your personal relationship with Doctor Moore and so forth. It's more of a professional.
What do you guys think? Should I spend 10 luck to make that a success?
Eh, we're probably good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually,
Speaking of
honestly, it makes sense to fail it because I knew it was a long shot. So it was the Okay, yeah. So I
Yeah, so speaking of long shots and so forth, could I have Doctor Wigglesworth make a spot hidden roll, please?
Hmm. Okay. All right.
Ooh, noise.
Hard success. I could push to extreme potentially if I need to.
Actually, an extreme would be useful here.
Okay.
that's only 3 luck, so
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
go for it.
So Edward has been over the last couple of days. So we're now about the 27th. Um, particularly looking at things in number one hold, which is where the big heavy equipment for the expedition is stored. So the snow tractors, the generators, the ice melting apparatus, etc. Um, Now, the lower portion of the hold is just about empty, mainly because what's down there are the oxygen tanks.
And that can go boom.
Well, maybe they could, but it turns out as you're moving some of these, you're going in to manhandle some of these tanks, that a few of them appear just noticeably lighter than the rest. That's one issue. Perhaps more concerning is that when you go to test fire one of the large 300-watt generators, it it starts off sputtering and then just grinds to an ear screeching halt in that very loud way that an engine has when metal meets metal between cylinder and bore.
I'm guessing there's a big pool of oil underneath of the goddamn thing now.
There is now, yes. In fact, what you notice is you go back up and take a look at the oil filler pipe, and you notice scoring along it and pitting, as though somebody had, say, poured a concentrated acid into the engine oil. Let's see. Meanwhile, Dr. Stoddard, would you care to try a spot hidden?
How does me spending 4 luck make that a success sound?
That sounds absolutely wonderful. So you're working in number 2 hold, which contains one of the big Boeing aircraft with the wings and the nose removed, along with the crated engines and propellers. There's also an array of crated kerosene tins on a heavy pallet. And in the lower chamber are the large drums of aircraft liquid, so gasoline, lubricants, industrial alcohol, and the Fairchild monoplane, which is perched on the top layer of gasoline drums, with its wings folded back, held down by heavy cables. It You're slightly concerned when you find a small cloth parcel hidden deep in the lower hold, thrust between two layers of gasoline drums. You unwrap it and find that it contains a large coil of quick burning timer fuse and a dozen non electric blasting caps. Several of the caps have been fixed to the ends of sections of fuse, combined with 1,000 gallons of fuel stored down here. That should make it a nice big bang. I don't know if you have demolitions.
The irony, this is probably the exact job for my alt. um, I probably don't have demolitions. No, I don't even have it on my sheet.
Okay.
Uh,
Um,
can can a, can an appropriate NPC be summoned?
oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, in fact, your old can be.
Oh, let's see if I never actually rewrote him like I was supposed to, but so let's see. He also doesn't have demolitions. That's fine.
Okay.
But I also never rewrote him properly. He's the one with the heavy machinery and electronic repair and all of that.
Um, well, you do recall that several coils of that fuse didn't make it initially in New York and had to be reordered, and there was that whole kerfuffle of getting explosives from New Jersey to New York.
Understood. So yeah, is it possible? I mean, this obviously isn't like high electronic circuit board bomb. Like, find the appropriate person on the part of the team to be like, "Hey, we're gonna disconnect this safely. Don't
Yeah,
blow things up."
and the comment is that this is a really, really ramshodded job. That amount of gasoline, you could send us sky high with just a third of the detonators.
I mean, it was probably even ramshackle enough that it was like I probably could just grabbed it and pulled it off. But it's still one of those like should at least get the input of the professional.
Absolutely. And let's just to round things off, head over to lunch and Miss Russo's. Um, Miss Russo intending to arrive fashionably late, I believe, or otherwise engaged for a while, if I understood correctly.
That was the thought. Because my understanding was the chef will be in the kitchen and the pursers help them, correct?
They'll be serving and so forth. So
So I will do what I can to slip into their room and see what's going on, possibly even knocking before I go in just to see if, you know, if anybody's in
just
there, they at least answer.
just in case one of them is down with a case of mal de mer or something.
Hmm.
Um, I would say go ahead and make a luck roll.
Well, I've spent some of that today, so let's see how this goes. Wow. So my luck is 58. I rolled a 55, so that's a regular success.
Okay. Well, you manage to get to the cabin in the aft superstructure unobserved, and The door is unlocked just because it's a ship out at sea. Um, nobody really has that much to hide normally, and especially with three people coming and going, it's just easier to not have to worry about the locks. Um, but you have a look inside, and it's basically pretty much a clean cabin with uh, three bunks. There's a footlocker uh, underneath each of them, and a little bit of quick um, investigation uh, gets you to Hennings. You can easily identify it by the time you open it up because of passport and so forth are kept in there. Um, but there's three things that you find interesting. One is that Henning has a much folded copy of Starkweather's original expedition announcement clipped out of the New York Times. The second is a telegram offering Henning $250 for his exclusive eyewitness account of the voyage of the Gabrielle, sent by a Chicago wire service. So somebody else is apparently after the scoop. But perhaps most interestingly of all, you find two stoppered glass bottles, about a third full each of a clear liquid, oddly viscous. Both are clearly labeled sulfuric acid, extremely poisonous, do not swallow.
Well, shit.
That sounds like something that would mess up some metal pipes. That is also interesting considering the money for an accounting.
Yeah.
So I assume you make your way back to lunch and arrive sort of fashionably late, but um, gather the troops, as it were, after a shortened lunch of pemmican sandwiches.
Don't eat a lot just in case there's something in them. Uh, I'll whisper to my companions what I've discovered, and just there's just a lot of moving parts going on this ship. I don't know how you guys have survived an expedition. But finding the acid and not the strychnine is a tad concerning, unless they're in there poisoning the food right now. But I don't know.
They may have already used it all up.
That's true. Just sprinkle it all over the pemmican. So either we confront this person or we just tell someone and let them do it. Those are our two options. But we can't. I left the acid there for now.
I'd say either the captain or more. I wouldn't go with Starkweather.
Oh God, no. Um, I'm Moore seems pretty level-headed. I think I'm gonna go with Moore if I can get him by himself.
Though technically, since it's crew, I think it falls under the captain's jurisdiction.
It it does. You're correct, but we work for more, so and maybe he can run interference with Starkweather easier if he knows it's coming. So that will be what I do shortly after lunch there.
Okay. Well, you getting hold of more is quite easy. Given the circumstances, all three of the top bosses, so Starkweather, Moore, and Vredenberg, are at anybody's disposal for a chat if they wish it. Um, so you track him down and you manage to sequester yourselves into the captain's ready room that sits right just off behind the bridge.
And I'll go through my steps of my investigation. Like, hey, I was interviewing folks, just trying to see if there's anybody that had an axe to grind, which led me to this, which led me to this, which led me to check out a room while they were doing their jobs. And in Henning's foot locker is 2 vials of acid that I discovered.
Well, it's good work, Miss Russo. Uh, I'm glad that uh, our foresight in bringing you along is proving fortuitous. I I'm just concerned that what you have presented is a great deal of circumstantial evidence, but the strongest, of course, being the acid. But I don't know that it's enough.
What reason would a purser have acid for?
It's. I agree. I just don't know that it's enough to condemn the man. But a thought strikes me. I wonder if perhaps we can make him condemn himself out of his own tongue and his own actions, as it were.
How so?
Well, you mentioned that your colleague, Dr. Stoddard, had come across the blasting caps down in the fuel hold.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to engineer matters so that we could observe Mr. Henning, or indeed whoever it happens to be, but more, as you say, more than likely Mr. Henning, in the act of attempting to put his plan into action, that would be incontrovertible.
Okay.
We just
So
need we just need the ruse.
whatever I can do to help, and I'm sure the others of our in the group would be helpful as well.
Oh, this would take. My thought would take the cooperation of several individuals, and keeping it within our little cadre is probably the right move. I suspect that were Mr. Henning to find out about our plot, it would backfire. Although hopefully not literally.
Yes.
How about we meet again after dinner and discuss things?
All right.
And I think that is a good place to call a halt for tonight. So thank you so much to my wonderful players for leading us through this tangled web of intrigue on the high seas. And who knows, maybe they will actually manage to reach Melbourne all in one piece. So thank you for watching and good night.